for External Affairs, General Dr. V.K. Singh, Dr. Ruby Dhalla, ladies and gentlemen. The 10th Pravasi Bharati Divas Conference focused on the role of diaspora organizations. As it is reflected in the title of this session, we recognize the role of diaspora organizations, firstly, as a two-way bridge connecting India to the host country as well as to the diaspora, and secondly, as an instrument to realize the full potential of cooperation between India on the one hand and the host country and diaspora on the other hand. The conference aimed to understand and strengthen the role of diaspora organizations as well as their partnership with India. The panel was chaired by General Dr. V.K. Singh, who is also chairing this meeting. Minister of State for External Affairs, Shri M.J. Akbar, was also present. The session witnessed participation of representatives of diaspora organizations from key diaspora countries. Most of the panelists are present here today with us, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank them for their participation in and contribution to the conference, as well as for their presence today. I will divide my presentation into three parts. First, I'll present in brief the key recommendations that emerged from the discussion in the conference. Then I will present briefly the status of action taken to implement these recommendations. And then finally, I would flag some key issues and challenges that require further deliberation and can be addressed in today's discussion. In terms of key recommendations, while the main focus of the conference was to explore the role of diaspora organizations, the discussion did cover suggestions on possible ways of improving the outreach, as well as highlighting some specific issues of concern to the diaspora. The recommendations can be broadly categorized in 4 groups as displayed on the screen. The participants recognized the role of diaspora organizations as aggregators of the views and concerns of the diaspora. It was suggested that because of their permanent presence and direct link with the diaspora organizations have a better understanding of the needs of the diaspora, which should be utilized by Indian missions and consulates. Secondly, diaspora organizations can be an effective instrument for the government of India and its diplomatic missions to connect with the community. Diaspora organizations can play a role in helping the newly arrived to settle down in the host country. They can also be the channel to reach out to the younger members of the diaspora. There is a wide recognition of the contributions made by diaspora and diaspora organizations in strengthening of bilateral ties. Diaspora organizations have also played an important role in projecting India's strengths and countering negative narratives wherever these have existed. In this context, the participants emphasized the need for Indian missions and posts to work more closely with diaspora organizations. Finally, the participants noted that diaspora organizations can help promote awareness about the key initiatives of Government of India among the diaspora, as well as encourage the members of the diaspora to contribute to these programs and become a part of India's growth story. In terms of strengthening of diaspora organizations, several concrete suggestions were made. First, the need for regular interaction between Indian missions and diaspora organizations was highlighted. It was suggested that consultative groups should be formed at Indian missions and posts headed by ambassador or consul general with representation from main diaspora organizations. It was also suggested that the diaspora organizations could work in collaboration with other local NGOs in a mutually reinforcing manner. Finally, the need to explore funding options to support the work of diaspora organizations was highlighted. Funding is required for creation of infrastructure and facilities for the use of the community, such as community halls, cremation places, schools, medical centers, etc. Funding is also required to support organization of social and community functions, as well as to address the needs of vulnerable sections of diaspora community. Many panelists in the conference emphasized the need to enhance the outreach to diaspora through use of technology. They encouraged creation and regular updating of database, which would serve the twin purposes. First, it will enable easy and effective dissemination of information to the community. And second, it will also help profile the diaspora community. It was noted that diaspora organizations can contribute to these efforts. The participants also emphasized the need to use social media and mobile apps for dissemination of information about government initiatives and programs. It was noted that dissemination of information through digital means was much more effective than providing bulky documents. Further, social media can be an effective tool for grievance redressal. There was a suggestion that Government of India should launch a new 24/7 helpline. The existing helpline provided by Overseas Workers Resource Center is limited in scope. The new helpline should help address all cases of distress relating to diaspora. Finally, some panelists pointed out the need to streamline the mission's websites. It was noted that there were instances when the website of a mission and its posts were containing conflicting information. And therefore, it was suggested that the information content should be reconciled and the local content should be included in the websites of the posts. As I mentioned in the beginning, the discussion also touched upon some specific welfare measures that could be considered by the Government of India for the diaspora. Some of these suggestions are reflected in this as well as the next slide. Since these issues are being covered in detail in other sessions, I would not go into the details of these suggestions. I now come to the second part of the presentation regarding the status of follow-up action. The conference was held in November, and follow-up action was initiated immediately. The recommendations were shared with key missions, and we have received their feedback. The first set of action pertained to the outreach activity. Most missions and posts have conveyed that they have either already updated their database or initiated action to do so. They are also streamlining their websites in consultation with the ministry to remove inconsistencies and add local content. Majority of the missions have also confirmed that they are already extensively using social media to connect with diaspora. As you would have seen yesterday, the External Affairs Minister has tweeted the details of Twitter accounts of various missions on which the diaspora can tweet about their issues and problems. As regards the suggestion to expand the scope of existing 24/7 helpline run by the Overseas Workers Resource Center or to establish a new helpline, it was ascertained that almost all missions and posts have provided an emergency number on their website on which they can be contacted 24/7. In addition, the ministry has this web portal Madad, which is also available to Indians abroad for consular assistance. The second set of actions pertain to measures to strengthen diaspora organizations. Here again, most missions and posts have confirmed that they have either already formed consultative groups or initiated action to form such groups. As regards the funding, we'll have to keep looking for local solutions. However, the Ministry of External Affairs is also exploring revision of guidelines of Indian Community Welfare Fund to enable increase in funds and coverage. There has also been follow-up action on specific welfare measures suggested. However, since these have been covered in other sessions, in order to save time, I would again not go into the details. I now come to my final slide, in which I would like to flag few issues and challenges that can be discussed further that merit further deliberation. The first issue pertains to the multiplicity of diaspora organizations. While diversity has its own strength and needs to be nurtured, presence of a large number of diaspora organizations in one place without any unifying umbrella can make the process of engagement for the mission or post very challenging. For example, it was mentioned in the conference that in London alone there are more than 1,650 organizations, and in Silicon Valley more than 600 organizations. How do we bring greater coherence? The second issue pertains to the funding of diaspora organizations. We have no option but to reduce our reliance on government funding and explore alternative funding options. Can we find ways of sharing best practices and successful models across countries? Finally, the diaspora organizations need to be more proactive in encouraging enhanced participation of diaspora in Government of India programs and initiatives. Yesterday, we discussed in detail the various aspects of India Development Foundation of Overseas Indians. How can diaspora organizations create greater awareness about this platform and also mobilize the community to contribute? We would welcome your specific suggestions on these issues in the Q&A session. As we have done in previous sessions, we would request you to write your questions and submit it, which will reach us, and then we'll select and identify. It would be my request that the questions focus on the topic of the session, that is on role of diaspora organizations, and not on specific issues pertaining to diaspora. For now, I would conclude my presentation, and I would invite our special guest, Dr. Ruby Dhalla, for her remarks. Thank you.